At this time, I would yield 6 minutes to the distinguished chairman of the full committee, who is recognized as someone who knows more about aviation and transportation than anyone in this Congress. I'm very pleased to yield 6 minutes to Chairman Oberstar.
The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for yielding the time. But more than that, thank you for persistent, vigorous, and insightful and creative leadership you've given to the entire reauthorization of FAA, but especially to this particular safety issue. You've given your heart, your soul, your time, your energy, and we're now at a point of making extraordinary difference in the history of aviation safety. Our Constitution has a unique provision, unlike that in any other Constitution I'm aware of. It prescribes the right of the citizens to petition their government for redress of grievances. The families of the victims of the Colgan Continental Express flight that crashed February 12 of last year have exercised that right with vigor, with persistence, with high-mindedness. They know, as the families of all victims of transportation tragedies, that they can't bring back the lives of those they love. But they can do something to make sure it won't happen again to others. I've seen the tears in their eyes that reflect the pain in their hearts. I've experienced their determination never to give up. I've also stood at the site of the grim tragedy of the Mesaba Airlines commuter crash only 6 miles from my home in Chisholm, Minnesota, on the flight path toward the Chisholm-Hibbing Airport in December 1993, where 19 people lost their lives. Because that aircraft didn't have a ground proximity warning system. It wasn't required for commuter airlines. Because there was a mismatch between pilot and co-pilot. Because there was an inadequacy of training on the one hand and a mismatch of personalities and of skills and of abilities to manage aircraft under unusual circumstances. I vowed to the families we'd make a difference. Congress would act. And we were able to require the regional airlines to have ground proximity warning systems, regardless of the cost of the airlines. That's their problem. They can figure that out. And vowed to move to have a more equitable management in the flight deck, matching of pilot and first officer. That was not as successful. Didn't have enough time before, frankly, we lost the majority. But I also stood with my colleagues of the Pan Am 103 Commission in Lockerbie, Scotland, at the abyss, this trench that was carved into the earth where that 747 exploded and killed 271 people. And we vowed to each other and to the families of Pan Am 103 to make a difference, to make the airways safer. Our report of 64 recommendations we took in this committee on, which I chaired at the time, the Aviation Subcommittee, which Mr. Costello now chairs. The 63 of the 64 recommendations translated into legislative language in the House and in the Senate, and moved a bill through the House to make aviation safer. We didn't get everything we asked for. We got 98% of it. There was much more yet to be done, and more happened after the tragedy of September 11, 2001. It should not require loss of life and tragedy and pain in the hearts and pain in the lives of people to make these changes for aviation safety and security. The opening paragraph of the FAA Act of 1958 says, safety shall be maintained at the highest possible level. Not the level the airlines can afford, not the level the airlines want, not the level that the airline executives choose to provide, the highest possible level. That is where we go with this legislation. This bill passed the House last year. We sent a separate safety bill over to the other body when they didn't act. We have cajoled and wheedled and tried and pushed and moved, but holds and hot holds and threats of filibuster and failure to break filibuster and failure to agree in the other body have held up the entire FAA authorization bill. The Senate bill had no provision comparable to this safety provision in their bill. The families of the victims exercising their right to petition the government broke the logjam, broke the indifference and the resistance in the other body. We are on the verge of a citizen triumph in safety. Let us all work earnestly to ensure that this bill passes the other body, goes to the President, signed into law, and that never again do citizens have to petition to make things right for safety.